Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and I've got a cold. Yes, indeed, it is that time of year when those little angels of mine go off to their institutions of learning and then come back and spray whatever lurgy or germs they've picked up on the playground directly into my face. And this is the end result. Hopefully it won't be too distracting for you guys today. I will do my best not to cough and splutter my way through today's cast, but we've got to get on with it. I was putting it off to see if I got better, but instead I got worse. And it's Friday, so it's the end of the week, and I've got to keep the content rolling. Otherwise, the YouTube algorithm forgets about me. And while we're talking about the algorithm, shove a like down there on the video and comment for circulatory purposes. Helps me out. Oh, and if you're not subscribed, hit that big red button too and that notification icon. Why not while you're down there? What have we got today? It's going to be 2v2 ladder. I'm very conscious we've had a lot of team games over a long period. I've had some comments saying, Guile, where's the 1v1 action? Well, we have had 1v1 stuff on the Patreon side of things recently, so if you need a fix there and you're not already subbed, it's only $1 a month. Do check that out. I would love to get more 1v1 content as well on the main channel, but I'm just not getting a lot of replays sent to me in that format, guys. So if you're having entertaining games, especially if you're pretty competent in FAF, please do send me those replays. I would love to feature you on the channel if you have entertaining replays, and give me broader scope as well, guys. Is anyone playing Phantom anymore? Any free-for-all games? Anything like that? Send them my way. I want this content. Give it to me. I am hungry. Anyway, today's game is going to be 2v2 ladder, and it's going down on a map called Mentor, which might be a first for us, but we will wait and see. Check it out in a second. I'm ready. You guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going. To get on. Ching. Ka-ching. There we have it. I'm not 100% sure. I think this is a new one for me, but we'll see. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top and this Team 2 down here at the bottom. In the north, going for Team 1, first of all, up here, it is Talon, just gating in as we speak. There we go. He's going UEF, how thoroughly sensible, in electric blue, opening first land. And his teammate down here to the bottom left in baby blue this time, going Cybran, bless him. It's, I love this name, Thurnis Haley. Come on, Thurnis, let's go shopping on the Tottenham Court Road. Fabulous. Anyway, he's going Cybran, opening first and second land. Let's check out Team 2 now. Down here at the bottom right, we've got Yivo going Seraphim and going Burgundy Red, opening first land. And last but not least, his teammate up here, it's Svizak, another Seraphim there. So a dual Seraphim setup for Team 2, and he has gone first air. Interesting decision in Ferrari Red. So that's the team layout. Game quality, as you would expect from a ladder match, perfectly balanced, or as close to it as they can get to. 97%. Pretty damn happy with that. You can see the averages of the team ladder rankings. They seem further apart than you would expect for a 97%. So it's 14-28 versus 13-79 in favor of Team 2. Let's check out the map quickly. First of all, that's the reclaim picture. Not a huge quantity of reclaim at the start of the match, I think it's fair to say, in all of the usual places dotted around the perimeter of cliffs and plateaus and whatnot, but no massive boulders anywhere I can see. I suppose we've got some big ones down here, so there's 113 one there, one or two large rocks right in the center, but otherwise, with the exception of a couple of 40s and 30s, it's 10s across the board. Look, 10s everywhere. And of course, the small section of weird alien plumage, which brings in so little it's not even worth mentioning. So there we have it. In terms of the routes through from one side to another, there are these tangled mazes. I say tangled mazes, it's basically two each. You've got one route that comes up here and splits, and another route that comes up here and splits as well. And then kind of open, redundant corner sections, which aren't going to see an awful lot of combat. This large open water section around the outside, which could feature, but it's not necessarily essential, I wouldn't say. Potentially, if you get some vessels, for instance, sailing into these little bay areas here, it would put main bases under pressure, but it's not quintessentially a water map, I wouldn't say. You've got this large section in the middle, this valley depression, if you will. I sympathize. Ooh, swirliness. It's like we're inside a giant glass of Coke. The colas are available. So there we have it. Not sure what happened there. Early harassing units are out. What have we got over here? We've got a couple of mech marines heading out from Talon with their own snoop. Bit of scoutage to lead the way. We've also got a scout plane and a T1 bomber out from Svizak. We saw him going first air factory. He's making a beeline straight for Talon's base. What's he going to target? He has found an engineer. It moves, but too late. Does get caught in that explosion. So 1 kill there for the T1 bomber. Scout plane still circling while he identifies his next potential victim. And it'll be poor little Terrence over here making a run for cover, but there's no cover to be found. Takes a nice little right turn, and that cancels the bombing run off Swizak there. Very nice little bit of micro. Potential vulnerable units down here. Not engineers though, so it's going to stick with the engineer. Have another shot at it. Bosh! Down it goes. That's 2 kills for that T1 bomber. Vitally important to make it pay, of course, because it's a slightly slower start going for first bomber. That's 3 engineers down and out there for Talon. Certainly has paid for itself so far. 158 hit points left on that T1 bomber and still going strong. We did see 1 archer roll off the conveyor belt there, but it moved to the rally point, which was set up over here, and so slightly out of position to defend the main base. But it looks like that T1 bomber has moved off towards a different direction anyway. Another T1 bomber down here for Thurnis, and he's managed to catch an engineer working on a mechs down there in the middle. Meanwhile, look at this. Early aggression from Yivo, who's pulled his commander and is moving out to this position of 3 mechs over here, as is Thurnis. But I think it's fair to say, geographically speaking, this is closer to Thurnis than to Yivo's base. So potentially easier for Thurnis to defend here. Having said that, it is of course that tinfoil Cybran ACU at the start of the match with a mere 10,000 HP versus the 11,500 HP comm of the Seraphim there, second chunkiest comm in the game. Yivo starts a land factory, but is going to quit that at about 700 HP. And is he actually yielding this position now? He backs off slightly. We have 1 or 2 reinforcements moving in. What's happening over here? Transport out fully laden with engineers, 6 of them on board that T1 transport for Zwizak. Where is that heading? We don't know yet. Holding pattern up there in the top right hand corner. Over here, Zwizak has pulled his comm to grab this particular section with 3 mexes to it. The mirrored section we were just looking at a moment ago down there in the bottom left, and is chasing away this small group of spam that was moving in to harass for Talon. Talon also pulling his commander up to this position over here, trying to see if he can score an early win, territorially speaking, on that part of the map. Yivo drop back again, tries to get himself a land factory, but again looks like he might have been forced to abandon it. That got to about just over 2,000 HP. Yivo getting harassed from the skies above. He's on about 8,800 hit points. Thurnis on 9,200, and with no sign of slowing down, the pushback from Thurnis seems to continue. Yivo still in the green, not yet in too much trouble. He has a little group of Thams waiting for him back here. Currently struggling though with this T1 bomber. Has spat out an ISIL, some mobile T1 anti-air cover to try and alleviate the pressure on his commander. Back up here meanwhile, Svizak managed to get himself a land factory up and running. That has not dissuaded Talon though, who rolls straight up to it and starts reclaiming. Naughty. Looks like he's going to be successful in finishing that off. And speaking of successful, 1 engineer for Svizak was dispatched to claim the territory up here in the top right peninsula. But he seems to have got himself gizzarded just before he was about to start work on a hydro, and those 3 mechs along with them are going to fall to that little group of strikers and mech marines. They were the 2 early mech marines, incidentally. We thought we were going to go harassing off towards the main base, but alas, it wasn't to be. Svizak now pushing back against Talon here as we cross the 7-minute threshold. Talon on about 6,600 hit points and finds himself painfully alone right now, all by his lonesome, and he's got a ways to move before he can get to any water for cover. He's not far off a rank in veterancy though, so he needs to blap as many of these T1 tanks as he can, try and recoup some HP, otherwise he could be our first ejection here inside 10 minutes. Wouldn't be looking good for Team 1 if he goes down, but he's very close to a ranked veterancy now. 17 kills to his name, 907 out of 1,000. Oh, 961 out of 1,000, but 500 hit points left. Bosh! That gets him 1 star and gets back a few hundred hit points. He's now on 1,300 hit points. In comes a couple of strikers, trying to buy himself some time. He's going to make a play for the water. 400, 300. Oh, just about gets into the water in time. Svizak can't believe Talon's luck. He's going to pursue him into the water nonetheless. Let's face it, when you've got an enemy comm that badly damaged and on the run like that, it's generally not a good thing to take your foot off the gas. He started work on a torpedo launcher, but he can see that Talon isn't stopping, so I guess he abandoned that, but that persuaded Talon to move back. Talon, who's getting ground fired now by some Zuis, has to continue microing. I'm not sure how deep that pond is, though. Are they actually going to be able to penetrate with their AoE and get through to the comm? He's got 1,000 hit points left, now up to about 1,100 with that regen. Zui's coming in from all angles. I don't really want to miss what's happening down in the bottom left quadrant. It looks like Yivo has finally been shooed away from that group of 3 mexes. Thurnis secures the area, has a land factory in play, although it's not producing anything right this moment. Back to Talon up in the top right corner. 1,600 hit points now on that comm. He's slowly repairing and not taking any extra damage. It's buying himself just enough time. Oh, that's begging for a bomb there. But he gets himself shot down in the end. By what? What actually shot him down there? Was there any anti-air units that have subsequently been taken out? Hard to tell at this current moment in time. Bottom left-hand corner cooling off just a little bit, with the exception of some fight back from Thurnis, who's trying to take that bottom left corner peninsula. So I think we can go back to single screen. Nice little run by here from Thurnis as well, who's got a group of about 8 strikers. Sorry, no, he's going Cyber and 8 Mantis down here towards this group of 3 mexes left undefended. T2 upgrade on the way for Svizak, who must be kicking his heels right now and feel like he's missed an opportunity. Talon slowly repairing underwater here. Oh, but maybe he thinks he can finish him off with some torpedo bombers. Trouble is, he can't hope to keep that thing alive with the interceptor coverage that Talon has over the top of his commander right here. Talon back down to 1,500 hit points after taking those 2 volleys from that torp bomber. Those 3 mexes were taken out. Another little run by on the cards, this time from a group of labs. Thurnis sensing weak points in this front line, goes for the fast, the mobile, low damage admittedly, but easy to produce labs just to get some boots on the ground behind enemy lines. But Talon has emerged from the water, needs to be very careful not to take any damage. He needs to continue to micro as best he can from that inbound artillery. He does that, and he crushes the artillery from the cliff face there with his comm. Comm now retreating with 1,900 hit points. Position looking considerably better than it did just a moment ago for this 1,200 rated player. Remember, this is 1,200 rated in the 2v2 ladder. This is the system. This is not global ranking. So it is its own metric, own tool for measurement, if you will. Massive advantage in numbers there for Talon. Completely overrunning this position. Just needs to get some build capacity in here, and maybe he can grab these mexes. It's so much closer, though, to Svizak's base than his own, so it is a hard one to grab. But what a turnaround this is. Svizak now finds himself isolated and alone, and taking some bomber fire from his opponent. That comm with about 8,500 hit points left on board. How is things looking, or how are things looking in the eco side of the game. Well, it's 41k to 38k in favor of Team 2. So Team 2 doing slightly better on the eco front. They're up about 500 mass in reclaim in terms of generated eco. Team 1 have pulled ahead, though, and pulled ahead quite considerably by at least a consistent 20 to 30 mass. So that advantage will begin to ebb away, I think, for Team 2. Unless they can get back into this. Svizak had to cancel his T2 upgrade, which was started just a moment ago from the cliff edge up here, and now he's reinitiated it under the coverage of the water there. It was probably all of those forces passing from Talon and those T1 bombers that pushed him off that upgrade. We've got a transition to T2 air, though, for Svizak. Svizak. I'm having real problems pronouncing that today, along with other things. Having problems generally in life. It's just the way it goes. But no T2 in play at all, as far as I can see, for Talon, or on the way. So a tech mismatch. This explains the dramatic fall-off in unit numbers for Svizak, who's invested that resource production into upgrading towards Tech 2 Air. And now he has Corsairs in play. What's he going to do with them? As we said, Navy not necessarily crucial in this map. It looks like the players broadly agree. I haven't got a single naval yard on the map yet, as far as I can tell. 80% done towards Tech 2. This will give him a chunk of HP back and potentially allow him to start securing some of these bottlenecks with the commander. But I don't know. I doubt he's going to walk out into this. That's an awful lot of Tech 1 firepower. Probably likely to drop back through here if I were him. No, he's going to stick it out where he is and go for a second upgrade. Going to get the gun upgrade. That would help him bully his way back out. Could just dip in and out of the water here, which, I mean, he could have done that anyway, but it's a lot less risky when you have extra firepower to your name, which he now has. That upgrade completed incredibly quickly. Is he going to make use of the comm? Talon now bringing his commander back out. Still no upgrades for him, and still looking pretty peaky on around 5,300 hit points. So not something he's going to want to throw directly into the fray, I wouldn't think, but he's certainly continuing to move forward with it. A fresh group of reinforcements for Svizak moving in from the main base, but a fresh threat for him from Talon, who's moved that whole force sitting on the causeway up here in towards the main base. We do have some base forces guarding over here, and engineers are getting to work on some static defenses. Have we got much in the way of Lobo firepower artillery? No, we have absolutely zilch. Oh, look at this. Talon now forced back into the water by this group of Thams. Remember, we said he's still upgraded. Feels like we spent all of our time up here. We're going to have to go back to split screen just to keep an eye on what's happening down here in the bottom. Yivo getting into it with a little advance there from Thurnis. Thurnis, who is pumping out Mantis from that reinforcing point. Finally, we are getting an upgrade from Talon, and it's a gun upgrade. That Zeph Amp wants to give himself some sturdiness. I'm surprised he hasn't actually gone for the old T2 engineering suite. Get some HP back and do what UEF players do best, turtleage. But look at this, Svizak now forced to throw down some defenses as Thurnis turns his attention to him. He has transitioned to T2 air. He's got Corsairs buzzing over the top of his commander. 7,600 hit points left. There's a whole lot of anti-air emplacements, though, he's just thrown down. Combination attacks now from the T1 bombers of Talon, which are coming in periodically, and those Corsairs. What happened to his Corsairs? Well, we lost track of those. Not sure exactly what's gone down on that front. Big old run by. That force we saw threatening the base a moment ago came down here and is now potentially getting in around the back of Svizak's base. That could be dreadful. Going to want to get a handle on that. In fact, it looks like he might be dropping back right now. 6,600 HP on the commander. Gun damage and range upgrade. The Zeph amp about to complete on Talon's comm. That ticks over. He will feel a little safer. But look at this. Nice push from Yivo, who's bulldozed his way through that forward position belonging to Thurnis. Probably because Thurnis turned his attention up here. Took his eye off the ball slightly. He's also lost the headland in the bottom left corner. Small group, small contingent of Thams now heading up the western approaches to threaten this T2 mechs over here. Although there are T1 bombers lurking for Thurnis, which will help him defend. We finally see some T2 presence on the ground. It's from Yivo, who's got a little group of 4 Ilshivas, and he's marched up here, found a little chink in the front line, and is crushing these T2 mexes. Thurnis has a really good, solid mass output, but that's going to be plummeting after the loss of those mexes. Even after they've all gone down, he's still putting out 77 mass per tick. That's way above what the other players are putting out, so I can only imagine what it would have been with those extra 3 T2 mexes. Can't be bothered to do the math right now. Nice front line drawn by Thurnis, preventing that advance from moving any further. Evo is moving up with that double upgraded commander, however. 13,200 hit points on board. Talon, meanwhile, in the top right-hand corner, has completed that gun upgrade. He's back up to 9,000 hit points, just over. He's using that new upgraded commander to batter down some of these defenses. Takes down a forward T2 point defense, puts a bit of damage down on the T1. Here goes a nano repair upgrade for Svizak. That's going to be his 3rd upgrade. He's already got gun and T2, so that's going to be a chunky-looking commander, that's for sure. Look at this, though. And this, so he didn't move up to threaten the main base. He came through here, Talon, with that force of T1, and is now moving up behind the main base of Yivo. Yivo, who's going to have to devote some forces down here to defend this, I would imagine. He's also got his commander up front and some Ilshivas. He's obliterated most of the T1 front line, but doesn't seem to have much of an answer for this T2 air pressure that he's currently being threatened with. So it looks like he's going to take his comm off into the water. That's definitely a sensible decision if he can get there. Down into the red. Oh, 600 hit points. Bosh! Lovely little snag there from Thurnis. Yivo just overextending and getting himself caught out there. Lots and lots of bombers, T1 and T2. Down goes the commander. It is, of course, a team ladder match, so control automatically switches over to Svizak. Is he going to be able to prevent extra damage being inflicted on this base, however? Engineers have already got to work on point defense. That was probably started while it was still under Yivo's control. They might snag themselves a few T1 P-gens on their way past here, but I think they'll be denied any route in towards the main base. I'm surprised these Ilshivas down here haven't been ordered into attack, but remember, of course, Svizak now handling control of both fronts, essentially. And it's a lot of extra APM, a lot of extra ground to cover with his APM. T2 transport brought in just to probably harass a little bit, maybe pick off some engineers, but get some scouting info. Interceptors for Talon, or a interceptor, I should say. The rest of the scout planes, there's another one moving in here, should really be dispatched to take that transport out. But look at this, Svizak feeling emboldened now. He's got the nano repair at full health with that comm now, 17,050 HP. Talon has repped up a lot from where we saw him earlier and has that gun upgrade, but he's not going to be a match one-on-one for Svizak's comm. Svizak going to focus down the inbound spam first of all. Always a good decision. He's got plenty of room for new ranks in vet as well. He's only a 1-star comm right now. Top right-hand corner under Talon's control. Bottom left-hand corner under Svizak's control, with more pressure coming up the western approach towards Thurnis' base. Thurnis has brought his commander off into the safety of this channel over here. Still absolutely no presence in the water for either teams. They're completely disinterested. I think it would be such a large, costly mass sink right now anyway. It could only harm you to get involved with that right now. It's a real gutter war on the ground in all parts of this map. Talon backing up towards his base, taking a lot of damage. Look at the firepower on Svizak's comm, associated as well with all of this inbound T1 and T2 pressure. Talon backing up away from his base towards this pond. If things get dicey, he can dip into the water and buy himself some time. Svizak seems much more intent in laying the smackdown on the main base. Ouch, this is really going to hurt. Talon down to 5,100 hit points. Still a small contingent of Ilshivas and Thams in this base, but numbers are dwindling. Svizak on around 13,000 hit points on the comm, but he's getting 92 hit points a second regen. Talon into the red now, things looking dicey. He's going to go for the water. I think that's probably a good decision, but it leaves his base, broadly speaking, wide open. But in comes Thurnis to the rescue with some air power. Corsairs moving in now to engage Svizak's comm. First volley, that takes him down to around 8,200 HP. Svizak, have you got any air cover to bring in to alleviate the pressure on your comm? He's not focusing on it for the time being. Build capacity all surrounding his land factory right now, assisting production there. 5,000, 6,000 hit points on Svizak's comm. Talon jumps back onto the pond bank there for a minute. Bags himself a couple of kills before heading back underwater. Svizak playing a real game of cat and mouse now, getting to work on some flak. That will assist the commander if he wants to get out and start laying down some fire on the main base. I'd say it will assist him if he can actually get the thing built, but as soon as he starts work on one, those Corsairs move in to engage it. Thurnis absolutely determined to prevent him from getting these defenses up and running. But he might get one. There's one. And he's going for a second. Talon gets to work on reclaiming it. We can see just how slow that process is. He's not got engineering suite on board that commander, so build capacity is at its base value on board that commander. 2,500 hit points on Talon's comm. Svizak on 10,000. Another flak battery goes up as the first one is destroyed. Talon gets to work reclaiming that. Meanwhile, we zoom out. Pressure from Thurnis being brought to bear on Yivo's old base. But there's a large group of Ilshivas ready to push on out. Expect that base to survive at least for the time being. Talon looking very peaky indeed. How did he get down to 1,000 hit points? He's going to roll out of the water to help put some damage on that flak, but he's going to have to go back in. Svizak is following him. This is crazy. Talon gets back into the water, down to 800 hit points. That was close. Svizak has him completely pinned in here, but at the same time he's pretty isolated. But we do have the arrival of some T3 firepower that more than beats out anything that Talon can put out right now. Those Othams, but he's only got one of them. Is he going to bring it into the water and try and use the Otham's torpedoes to help fire back at Talon's comm? Yes, he is. Talon on 16,000 hit points. He is getting 28 hit point a second regen because of the 3 stars on board that commander, and the Otham's underwater damage output is minimal. Talon gets the reclaim off. The siege tank has to move back out onto the bank. Svizak, where are you going, my friend? Well, he feels like maybe he was outstaying his welcome. He's going to bring his commander away from that position. Is that a missed opportunity, I wonder? 300, 100 Zuis from over here. That was so close, but he's still only just in triple-digit hit points and still taking torpedo fire. Talon's going to have to do something or he is down and out. 200 hit points left. The Zuis have been taken out. Wow, that was close. Talon still just barely holding on. He needs to start reclaiming this tank. There it goes. 400, 500 hit points now. Slowly but surely, hit points falling off the siege tank as well. The siege tank moves out of range. This is ridiculous. Talon still alive, 700 hit points, but in comes another wave of Zuis, another volley. Back down to 500. About 40 hit points. He's moving out onto the bank. Can he make it? He's still alive. Somehow he's still alive, but the Otham on 400 hit points is following him. 300 hit points on the comm. The Otham's out of the water. Boom! Absolute insanity. Talon finally goes down. Furnace will assume control over his stuff. Where is Svizak? There he is, looking pretty damn healthy after what he's been through. That nano repair getting the job done, up to 19,500 hit points there. The pressure that Yivo's old base was under has not resulted in its destruction as yet. We saw some counter push. We didn't see, of course, because we were focusing on that ridiculousness up in the top right hand corner, but the Ilshivas, what's left of them, did push out from base defenses and have worked their way up over here. They run up against a brick and some rhinos and thought, I don't fancy that. But goodness me, Thurn is surely send this in. We've got a brick, we've got a whole bunch of rhinos, and we had, more or less speaking, an open door down here. But unfortunately, his attention was elsewhere, and now engineers are getting emplacements ready, defenses up and running. T1 bombers harassing these units now, a lot of them actually partially damaged already. Engineers should be taking heavy casualties in this attack, I would imagine, but there's now 3 T1 PDs, strike that now 4. That is going to cut through those T2 units, and there's only one brick in that pile. That's not going to last long either. Missed opportunity there. If he'd have gone straight in, he might have been able to, if not scratch that base completely, certainly inflict heavy damage. Now, let's take a look at the broader eco thing. Now, it's essentially a 1v1 situation. Team 1, that's Thurnis, is putting out 190 mass versus Svizak is putting out 169. Thurnis's team overall is almost up 30k. That's a pretty significant advantage right here, but it's not necessarily translating to map control or general wider territorial game advantage. Svizak doing a good job of hanging in here. You can see if you look at the kill-loss ratio, Svizak is up over 1. Thurnis is down under half on kill-loss at 0.40. That's not brilliant. He's going to have to get those rookie numbers up if he wants to come out on top. Svizak has got an advantage in terms of ladder ranking points. It's a 1625 versus a 1487. What's going on down here? Svizak with his chunky looking commander chasing down a little group of T1 in the backfield. Thurnis looking for entry points here to inflict damage. What have we got in terms of wider development? Lots of T2 P-gens in the main base and a T3. And Svizak working on an Ithota. That's quite the investment, but he has already got a third of it done. Looking for that one serious unit that can bulldoze its way in and crush one, if not two, of these bases. Strat bomber in the south. I like the transition there. Lovely placement. Ground fire takes out a mass extractor and the T2 P-gen right next to that factory, and does damage to that T2 land HQ as well. Second bombing run going after the other P-gen. How is that left? Svizak's power grid. Well, he's got plenty in the bank there. T3 reactor up here, of course, will be pumping out the lion's share, so he's not too worried about losing those. But he'll want to hang on to this base. That's a lovely placement, taking out about 5 or 6 engineers and the P-gen they were working on. Corsairs scramble to try and intercept that bomber. It's tough to keep up with, and in comes a second strat bomber in over the top. That's 2 core mass down in Yivo's old base. It's looking more and more weakened every minute that passes. Finally, the flak deals with one of the strats. There goes the 4th of the core mass extractors. Svizak still increasing mass output though, despite losing all 4 of those mass extractors. He's now up to 182 from the 169 we saw a while ago, but he's still off the pace from Thurnis, who's ever so slightly ahead. Othams versus Pillars. Now, are we going to see a fall off in unit production? Well, he's only got 2 engineers working on this Ethota, so he's not pouring absolutely everything into this experimental. A lot of units still drifting up towards what was Talon's old base up here. Pillars advancing, however, out of Talon's old base up to that T2 point defense, which has stood for quite some time. That was one of the early defenses that Svizak threw down after his T2 upgrade. Spent a lot of time up here in this game before advancing up on Talon and doing most of the damage, which knocked him out of the game. But speaking of being knocked out of the game, check out this little push. Looks like it's going to be the final push down here. Valiant force of Ilshivas standing to the side of this base, but there's just not enough of them. Engineers down here working on T2 point defense, which will slow them down a tiny bit, but they're going to get massacred as those rhinos roll in. Rhinos and bricks, sorry. And that will be the end of that. One land factory and air factory remains. Just needs to leave those units there now to tidy those up. And with the demise of that base, that's essentially going to gift map control in the south down here to Thurnis and basically leave Svizak cornered up here. This play has to pay off, this Ethota play. I got it out in the end. Oh, this is what happens when you're ill. Hopefully this isn't too unbearable for you guys. But in Ethota, that's a big investment, and I worry now for Svizak, having lost Yivo's old base. He's working on a rebuild of his T3 power plant, so that must have got strap bombed as well while we were checking out the destruction of Yivo's old base. And you can see he was down and out on power. Just how essential that P-Gen actually was. Engineers get back to work, and this is all or nothing now, pretty much. He has got to make this work. He has stopped production on a lot of these factories. No, he hasn't. He's still producing. That factory had stopped production. Now it's upgrading. But the Ethota coming towards the end of its build cycle. He's still floating a lot of mass. He's got about 10,000 mass in the bank here. Struggling to get enough build capacity out to spend this. 63,000 out of 67,000. He has to do something spectacular with this now, because he is slowly but surely getting hemmed in. He's got a little group of mass extractors up here with a point defense. He's starting work on a shield gen. Desperately wants to hold on to that little pocket, but it's going to be tough. He's got no hope of holding on to these southern mexes right at the bottom of the screen. Unlikely he's going to be able to hold on to all of these. He really has to send this Ethota in and get something done with it. We've crossed the 30-minute threshold some time ago. 36 minutes into this game. Total mass accrued, 293 versus 247 in favor of Thurnis. Thurnis is on 268 versus 150 in terms of generated mass output. And just look at the difference. He's working on ion reactor number 4. Anything in the way of P-Gens up here? Not really. This is all about pumping out as much UEF ground force as possible and continuing to send it down here and tie Svizak up. This base is all about infrastructure and pumping out air power. But it's certainly working effectively. And now Svizak is left with a very expensive toy, which he essentially can't defend. Strat bombers and T1 bombers going to absolute town now on this Athota, which is already into the yellow. We have one unit of mobile flak moving out from the main base. Excuse me, we've got 2 or 3 now coming in. They're moving out in a stream from these factories. But the Athota will have taken an absolute battering. A lot of these flak batteries are probably going to go down in the collateral damage attacks against the Athota. 23,000 hit points now out of 67,000 on that experimental. And it's been forced back now to defend as a small contingent. I say small contingent, it's not a huge amount in unit volume, but there's a lot of firepower here. We've got a couple of bricks, say 3, and a bunch of rhinos now pummeling on that bottom right hand corner shield. That finally collapses. They need to get up here and kill off that P-Gen, but the Athota has turned up for base defense. We do have T2 point defense inside shield coverage over here in the main base as well. So this attack has had limited impact, but it has drawn that Athota back. And it bottles Svizak up even more. Another attack now coming in from those UEF forces in through the front door. Big old group of units down here. Thurnis not sending them straight in, however. Oh, I just wanted to send one unit down here. Look, he knows there's bases down here. Send one brick to finish all of this off. Look at this, though. Look at these revenants, these strat bombers massing. There they are. Stealth activated. Large groups of T1 bombers. We even have torpedo bombers standing by. We have one ASF out from Svizak, though. So he does have upgraded air capabilities. We've got the T3 air factory over here. Can he get enough of those out, though, to defend against this air power? Will he be able to hold on to it? Svizak's comm under attack. The shield blinks on in the nick of time, but Svizak actually standing just outside it, and that first bombing run takes him from 21,700 down to 2,700. T1 bombers lagging somewhat behind, and the Revenants took a lot of damage on the first pass. They might get 1 or 2 bombs off, but Svizak manages to crawl beneath the final operational shield in the bottom right hand corner of his base. He's back up to 4,500 hit points already. Thurnis now with a stream of suicide mortars, those T1 artillery pieces, which I still claim are overpowered pieces of kit. Massive spam base set up in the top right hand corner, just funneling those forces down, meant to tie Svizak up even more. If you can get enough of those together and send them all in at the same time, even the redundant or seemingly redundant technology of Tech 1 units can be useful in such an event. Strap bomb in over the top, taking damage from lightning tanks down here. So they're getting bombs off a lot of the time, but they're not necessarily getting damage on anything under shield coverage. They deplete the shield, but they aren't killing off the base units. Svizak in full turtle mode here at 41 minutes and 15 seconds. He's got one offensive unit out roaming, but even that's, broadly speaking, being used for defense. One Corsair. Thurnis now putting out more than twice the mass of his opponent. 323 versus 126. That is absolutely unsustainable. That one ASF over here has 11 kills to its name. It's just circling, popping these parked torpedo bombers. Absolutely crazy. We've got strats over here he's going to want to try and defend as well if he can. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get at least one SAM up in the main base. And look at the sheer number of Zuis that Svizak has massing on his corners. We've got 268 artillery pieces massing, ready to go in. A second Athota under construction. Well, that's interesting. I suppose he feels if he can get enough shield coverage together and enough of these experimentals, he can make this base impregnable. I salute him for sticking it out and trying to make a play of it. Second experimental has a long way to go till it's complete, though. Bit by bit, he's lost factories here and here. And of course, T2 P-Gen in the mix. Still that air superiority fighter over the top of Thurnis's base. Almost finished off the entire squadron, just one remaining. 23 kills to its name, but he can't get the angle. He needs to come out and come back. That's a very, very dizzy Seraphim pilot aboard that fighter. Just likes to go round and round, but look at all of these bricks massing down here. Bricks and rhinos. The rhinos won't be able to cross this water, of course. It's Wagner's there. That's their amphibious T2 Cybrin comrade. Bricks, of course, could march straight through there. We've got a lot of pillars ready to go in as well. Thurnis just amassing forces. I feel like this would be, well, maybe not. What have we got? 1, 2, 3 units of point defense under shield coverage guarding this position up over here, and another random T2 emplacement and a T1 as well. So maybe that wouldn't be a sensible use of time and resources. Said Commander Flashart. T1 bombers in towards the main base, moving in to deplete shield coverage as best they can. They get massacred in the first pass, as expected. In come the strats after that's been softened up, but look at the lightning tank fire, just lighting those up on their way in. They unload their bombs, and not one of them gets through towards the commander, but the bricks are into the main base. That row of factories is going to get torn to pieces down here. The second Ithota, however, is nearly complete. The first one is on about 38,000 HP. That second one's on 65,000, but all of the engineers that were working on it have been killed off. There's one T1 engineer down here, but that's it. The bricks are starting to dwindle. Oh my goodness, why haven't you sent these in? There's the attack command for them. The rhinos, where did the rhinos go? The rhinos are largely going around here. Some did go around the bottom over here, but they're now moving into the base. The lightning tanks, crucially, are getting popped. This one going to make it out at about 300 HP. Standing guard with that first Ithota. Svizak moves in with his comm to try and finish off that experimental, but his economy is in the toilet. He's putting out just 26 mass per tick and 2k power. That's not enough to get much of anything done. Is he going to get that second experimental completed? And even if he does, is it going to matter one iota? I humbly suggest that it is not. He is too far back at this point. And in come a wave of revenants. And this time there's only 3 lightning tanks in the main base. And of course there's all of these Lobos moving in as well. Off go their payloads. They're going straight for the comm. Thurnis trying to finish this game here and now. Svizak's still alive on 3,500 hit points. But that horde of Lobos moving in from the north. That second Ithota never got finished. Svizak not able to stick around with his commander to finish it either. He's having to make a play for the water. Just trying to stay alive as best he can. 500 HP is how much the chicken needed, says his teammate, who's still stuck around to watch. Yes, that's all it needed, but would it have made the difference? He has no way to moderate air power now. Thurnis could just churn out all of the strats and all of the gunships he needed. No experimental's going to help. Svizak takes some more strat bombs to the face. 4,600 hit points. He's still alive. T1 bombers inbound. This is some valiant last stand at the OK Corral business. Butch Cassidy would approve. Svizak, 6,100 HP, back into the yellow thanks to the regen. In comes another wave of bombers, back below 3,000 hit points. But he does get that... How? What was working on it? Was he working on it with his comms? Somehow that second Ithota is completed. But he's never going to be able to get them anywhere. And even if he does get anywhere near, this comm is bang in trouble. He's still taking bombers to the face, and there he goes. Oh, finally he dies out at 47 3/4 minutes. The GGs go out. That was a clutch game. Goodness gracious me. So many near comm deaths on many different fronts. Talon holding up here was a real feature. Furnace held out for the win, but I've got to say, Svizak, very entertaining stuff, broadly speaking, in this quadrant of the map. So despite Team 1 walking away with the win, despite Furnace basically outplaying him in the 1v1, I still want to give MVP to him in some reason. No, they can share it. That's unfair. They're going to share it, I think. That has to be said. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget there's always more to come from me in the future, but if you've seen everything on the main channel, do consider the Patreon, guys. It is a mere $1 a month. I program it that way specifically to make it as accessible to people as possible, and inflation be damned, I'm not going to be putting it up either. That is the rate it's going to remain. We've got some 65 casts on there or so, something in that order, and there'll be another one out very soon. So do check that out, guys, and please do like, subscribe if you haven't already, and click notifications and comment for the algorithm, because that helps get this video out to more people. Anyway, guys, as I said, hope you enjoyed it. More to come from me in the future, but until next time, stay well and stay safe. This is Guile, signing out.